Malaysia, France agreed to boost bilateral ties. Hamas rejects Israeli leaders' threats. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Olivia Nicholas. Malaysia and France have agreed to boost cooperation in the fields of defence, economy and energy, in addition to trade, investment, tourism and also artificial intelligence. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the matter was brought up during a telephone conversation with French President Emmanuel Macron. Both leaders also discussed developments stemming from their meeting during the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil on the 19th of November last year. The Premier also expressed his gratitude to Macron for the support given to the rebuilding of Gaza, which has suffered greatly at the hands of the cruel Zionist regime. Dato Sri Anwar said they have also agreed to seek a solution regards to Myanmar to bring peace to the country using appropriate diplomatic approaches. He also stated the government's willingness to receive Macron and his delegation to Malaysia this year in an effort to boost bilateral ties between both countries. Israel's leader Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the army to step up its operations in the occupied West Bank as he paid a rare visit to troops in the territory that drew Palestinian condemnation. Palestinians on social media expressed shock at a photograph shared by Netanyahu's office showing him meeting with army officers in a command center that appeared to have been established inside a Tulkarem refugee camp residence home. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry accused Netanyahu of storming the camp. Netanyahu's office said he ordered more operational activity in the northern West Bank. Days after a ceasefire took effect in Gaza on the 19th of January, Israel launched a large-scale military operation in the northern West Bank, spanning multiple refugee camps near the cities of Jenin, Tulkarem and Tubas. According to the United Nations, at least 51 Palestinians, including 7 children, have been killed since the assault began. Yesterday, live fire from Israeli troops killed a 13-year-old girl in Jenin refugee camp. Israeli fire also killed a 13-year-old boy near the southern West Bank city of Hebron. On Thursday, a Palestinian was killed when his car was struck by an armored vehicle just outside Tulkarem camp. The Israeli offensive has also displaced at least 40,000 people. Hamas has rejected Israel's leader Benjamin Netanyahu's threats to make the Palestinian group pay after he accused it of violating the ceasefire by not returning the remains of hostage Shiri Bibas. Hamas said in a statement that it rejects the threats issued by Netanyahu as part of his attempts to improve his image. Hamas also called on Israeli authorities to return the body of a Gazan woman that the group had handed over on Thursday, claiming it was that of Shiri Bibas. The group affirmed its seriousness and full commitment to its responsibilities under the ceasefire and said it had no interest in failing to comply or holding on to any bodies. However, it admitted the possibility of mix-up of bodies, which it attributed to Israeli bombing of the area where the Bibas family was located along with other Palestinians. Hamas said it would inform mediators of the results of its investigation and examination into the circumstances of the body's return. Hamas on Thursday also handed over to the Red Cross the remains of Shiri Bibas' sons, Ariel and Kafir. The 2 boys' bodies were positively identified. The 4th body handed over on Thursday was that of veteran journalist Oded Lifshitz. Arab leaders met in Riyadh to craft a plan for Gaza's post-war reconstruction to counter President Donald Trump's proposal for the United States to take over the territory without its Palestinian residents. Trump's plan has united Arab states in opposition to it, but disagreements remain over who should govern Gaza and how its reconstruction can be funded. A photo from the meeting showed the kingdom's de facto leader, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, with the leaders of other Gulf Arab states as well as Egypt and Jordan. A source close to the Saudi government confirmed the meeting had finished. However, he said he did not expect a final statement to be issued as the discussion was confidential. The official Saudi press agency said the decisions taken at the unofficial fraternal meeting would be put on the agenda of an emergency Arab League summit to be held in Egypt on the 4th of March. The Gaza Strip is largely in ruins after more than 15 months of war between Israel and Hamas, with the United Nations recently estimating that reconstruction will cost more than $53 billion. Arab leaders see an alternative plan for Gaza's reconstruction as essential after Trump pointed to the scale of the task as a justification for relocating its Palestinian residents. Rebels advanced on several fronts in Democratic Republic of Congo's volatile east as the UN Security Council for the first time called on Rwanda to stop backing the M23 group and halt the bloodshed. According to UN experts, the group, supported by some 4,000 Rwandan soldiers, now controls large swaths of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, a troubled region rich in natural resources. Fighters took control of the South Kivu provincial capital Bukavu last Sunday, weeks after capturing Goma, the capital of North Kivu and main city in the country's east. Recent gains have given M23 control of Lake Kivu following its lightning offensive in the east. Since the fall of Bukavu, the Congolese armed forces have been retreating without offering significant resistance. The M23 is now moving towards the town of Uvira near the Burundi border of the northwestern tip of Lake Tanganyika, the main exit route for fleeing Congolese soldiers. According to the UN, the latest fighting has led to an exodus of more than 50,000 Congolese to Burundi, Uganda, and other countries. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council has condemned Rwanda for the first time over its backing for the M23. Unanimously adopted UN Security Council resolution strongly condemns the ongoing offensive and advances of the M23 in North Kivu and South Kivu with the support of the Rwanda Defense Forces. It also calls on the Rwanda Defense Forces to cease support to the M23 and immediately withdraw from Congo territory without preconditions. The Security Council had previously called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire by all parties, but yesterday all countries, including the 3 African members, pointed the finger at Kigali.
Les forces rwandaises doivent se retirer sans délai du territoire congolais, comme l'ont déjà déclaré le secrétaire général des Nations Unies et les membres de ce Conseil. La MONUSCO doit pouvoir mettre en œuvre son mandat pour le bien des populations civiles, sans être entravée dans ses actions ou sa liberté de mouvement. Cette résolution rappelle enfin le rôle clé des processus de Luanda et Nairobi en vue de trouver une solution politique durable qui passe par le retrait complet des forces rwandaises et le démantèlement des FDLR.
Pressured into signing mineral deposit deal with US, that and more coming up next. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky faced pressure to sign a deal to hand the United States preferential access to Ukraine's mineral deposits. U.S. President Donald Trump wants Ukraine to give U.S. companies access as compensation for the tens of billions of dollars of aid delivered under his predecessor Joe Biden. Ukraine, meanwhile, is seeking security guarantees from the United States in exchange for signing away the precious rights to vast amounts of its natural resources and critical minerals. Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, predicted that Zelensky would sign the deal soon. The United States had been Ukraine's most important financial, military and political backer since Russia invaded in February 2022 in what the West top powers had condemned as an unprovoked and illegal war of aggression. Kyiv rejected a first attempt by Trump's team to strike a deal for Ukraine's natural resources, saying the proposal did not include security guarantees for Kyiv, a move that infuriated Trump. The minerals deal has become a major sticking point in the increasingly fraught relations between Washington and Kyiv.
The United States has proposed a United Nations resolution on the Ukraine conflict that omitted any mention of Kyiv's territory occupied by Russia.
Washington's proposal comes amid an intensifying feud between U.S. President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Zelensky, which has seen Trump criticizing Zelensky as a dictator without elections. Washington's text calls for a swift end to the conflict without mentioning Kyiv's territorial integrity and was welcomed by Moscow's ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, as a good move. The ambassador, however, stressed that the text did not address the roots of the conflict. In a break with past resolutions proposed and supported by Washington, the latest draft produced ahead of a General Assembly meeting on Monday to coincide with the third anniversary of the war does not criticize Moscow. The text reiterated that the United Nations' purpose is the maintenance of international peace and security without singling out Moscow as the source of the conflict.
The European Union will suspend sanctions on Syria's banking, energy and transport sectors on Monday in a bid to help the country's reconstruction after the ouster of Bashar al-Assad.
Syria's new leaders have been clamoring over the West to ease sanctions on the country imposed to target Assad's regime during the civil war. However, Europe and other powers have been reluctant to move before clear signals from the new rulers in Damascus that they are serious on having an inclusive transition. The step, due to be greenlit at a meeting of EU foreign ministers in Brussels, is a formal move after the bloc struck a preliminary accord last month to suspend sanctions in key areas. Diplomats, however, said these sanctions could be reimposed if Syria's new leaders break promises to respect the rights of minorities and move towards democracy. The United Nations said that at a current growth rate, Syria would need more than 50 years to get back to its economic level before the outbreak of its devastating civil war. Much of Syria's infrastructure was destroyed and the country's economy was ravaged by years of international isolation after Assad's 2011 crackdown on opposition sparked the civil war.
The head of the UN's health agency has warned that history would not forgive countries if they fail to strike a pandemic treaty at the last hurdle. World Health Organization leader Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus made the comments with progress slow and time running out for the talks.
Tedros said countries had reached the cusp of concluding a landmark agreement on how to tackle future pandemics together as they wrapped up the penultimate week of talks. He added the discussions are at a crucial point as nations move to finalize the pandemic agreement in time for the WHO's annual decision-making assembly in May. However, with only 5 more days of formal negotiations left, scheduled for 7th to 11th of April, countries agreed to hold informal meetings in March to try to find compromises on the trickiest issues. Tedros urged countries not to sink the agreement on a word, a comma, or a percentage in the text, imploring them not to make perfect the enemy of the good. He insisted that the world needs a sign that multilateralism still works and reaching a pandemic agreement in the current geopolitical environment is that sign of hope. While much of the draft text has been agreed, there are still disputes over sharing access to pathogens with pandemic potential and the sharing of benefits derived from vaccines, tests, and treatments.
Luigi Mangione, the man accused of fatally gunning down health insurance executive Brian Thompson on a Manhattan street in December, arrived in court in New York on Friday afternoon as he faces state murder and terrorism charges. Mangione, 26, pleaded not guilty on 23rd of December to an 11-count indictment charging him with murder as an act of terrorism and weapons offenses.
If convicted, Mangione could face life in prison without parole. He is now jailed in a federal lockup in Brooklyn. Thompson, the former CEO of United Health Group's insurance unit United Healthcare, was shot dead on the 4th of December outside a Midtown Manhattan hotel where the company was gathering for an investor conference. The brazen killing and ensuing 5-day manhunt captivated Americans. While public officials condemn the killing, some Americans who decry steep healthcare costs and insurers' power to refuse to pay for some treatments have feted Mangione as a folk hero. Mangione also faces a 4-count federal criminal complaint charging him with stalking and killing Thompson. He has not yet entered a plea in that case where he could face the death penalty.
Still to come in sports, Al Nassr suffers shock loss after taking lead twice. We begin with updates on football. The English Premier League, Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim should have Christian Eriksen, Manuel Ugarte and Lenny Yoro back in the squad for Saturday's Premier League match at Everton in what would be a much-needed boost to his struggling team. He said the current week has been better to him as he will be seeing players return to the pitch.
Yes, because we didn't lose players, we recovered players. Chris, Manu and Lenny return, and with Chris was a misunderstanding and I want to be really clear on that. Also because of Chris, he's healthy and is ready to play so for many years in a high level. Just my limitation explaining the injuries, and I want to let this really clear.
Saturday's clash at Goodison Park is a key one for both mid-table teams. United are languishing 15 in the table, 12 points above the drop zone and 1 point below 14th placed Everton. Amorim spoke to reporters shortly after Friday's Europa League draw that has them facing Real Sociedad in the last 16. He, however, insisted that the Premier League is his immediate priority.
Onto the Saudi Pro League, Al Ettifaq scored late to snatch a stunning 3-2 win away to Al Nassr in their match in Riyadh on Friday. Jorginho Wijnaldum was instrumental, scoring twice to overturn Al Nassr's lead.
After a goalless first half, Ayman Yahya broke the deadlock for the host moments after the break before Wijnaldum drew Al Ettifaq level. Al Nassr, who had won each of their last 5 matches, also finished the game with 10 men, with John Duran receiving his marching orders in stoppage time to cap a disappointing day for Stefano Paoli's side. Mohamed Al Fatil scored to regain Al Nassr lead, but the Saudi defender then put the ball in the back of his own net before Wijnaldum stepped up with the winner with a minute to spare in regulation time. Al Nassr, who had striker Duran sent off in stoppage time, missed the chance to climb up to third and sit fourth on 44 points, 3 behind Al Qadsia in the league standings. Al Ittihad fourth clear at the top of the table, host second place Al Hilal on Saturday.
Meanwhile, in tennis, Andrei Rublev and Jack Draper will battle it out for the Qatar Open title following respective tight semi-final wins on Friday. Russian Rublev, seeded 5th and champion in Doha in 2020, edged past Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime 7-5, 4-6, 7-5 on his 4th match point.
Rublev withstood 21 aces from his opponent to prevail after 2 hours, 47 minutes and reach his first tour-level final since Montreal last August. Rublev became the 9th player to reach 10 ATP 500 finals since the series was introduced in 2009. The 27-year-old is a 5-time champion at that level and a 16-time ATP Tour titleist overall. 8th-seeded Brit Draper, meanwhile, fought from a set down to see off Carlos Alcaraz, Czech conqueror Jiří Lehecka 3-6, 7-6, 6-3. The British lefty fired 14 aces to triumph after 2 hours and 22 minutes and improved to 2-1 in his Lexus ATP head-to-head series against the Czech. Draper is up to number 12 in the PIF ATP live rankings and will rise to a career high on Monday. The 23-year-old would become the world number 11 if he defeats Rublev and wins his third tour level title and second at ATP 500 level.
In women's tennis, Russian teenage sensation Mira Andreeva continued her giant-slaying exploits at the Dubai Tennis Championships by upsetting Kazakhstani 6-seed Elena Rybakina 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 in the semi-finals on Friday. Andreeva, who had stunned 5-time Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek in the quarters and former Wimbledon winner Marketa Vondrousova in the round of 32, is the youngest player to reach a WTA 1000 final.
The 17-year-old French Open semi-finalist also becomes the youngest player to be 3 Grand Slam winners at a single event since compatriot Maria Sharapova in 2004. Wimbledon 2022 champion Rybakina, ranked 7th in the world, let a slender 2-1 lead slip in a tight opening set as momentum swung back and forth before Andreeva came out on top. However, Rybakina forced a decider following a close second set where she had built a 4-3 lead, and just as she looked to run away with the win after racing to a 3-1 lead in the final set, Andreeva roared back to win 5 successive games. With the victory, world number 14 Andreeva also avenged her 2023 Beijing round of 16 defeat against Rybakina. Denmark's Clara Tauson set up a final showdown with Andreeva after overcoming Karolina Muchova 6-4, 6-7, 6-3.
The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, said on Friday it has dropped its lawsuit against the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency in a dispute involving 23 Chinese swimmers who failed drug tests in the lead-up to the 2021 Tokyo Olympics.
News of the positive test led to a war of words between the two agencies and an investigation by Swiss prosecutor Eric Cotier, who determined that WADA had not shown favoritism or complacency towards China. The swimmers were not punished after WADA accepted Chinese authorities' explanation that they were exposed to the banned substance trimetazidine through contamination from spice containers in the kitchen of a hotel where they were staying. USADA argued that the swimmers should have been provisionally suspended and blasted WADA for what it said was a lack of transparency around the situation. WADA said it had filed a lawsuit against USADA and its CEO Travis Tygart to protect its reputation, but now feels vindicated by Cotier's findings. Tygart said it was not satisfied with Cotier's conclusions when they were released in September.
Car concept approaching closer to its realization. That's next in our Offbeat segment.
The concept of flying cars has long been a mainstay in imaginings of the future, featuring in films such as The Fifth Element and Back to the Future. Aleph Aeronautics believe it is one step closer to make that future a reality. The California-based company has released videos showing their flying car, an ultralight version of the Aleph Model 0, taking off vertically and traveling over a parked truck. The company said the test was carried out without any danger to the public and without any safety issues. Aleph Aeronautics Chief Executive Officer Jim Duchnov expressed hope that the video will have a significant impact.
The significance of this video is we really hope that it will be, will have a similar impact as the Wright brothers video, in a sense that it proves to the humanity that the new mode of transportation is possible. It has the independently verifiable proof that that this new mode of transportation does work and does exist. And we hope it will start some kind of a new market, new economy for this new mode of transportations, which we call flying cars.
Dukhnov said that buying a flying car would be prohibitively expensive as they are not in the manufacturing stage yet, but prices are likely to go down as more are produced. A prototype robot has been tested on a building site in Italy, working alongside construction workers, drilling, sanding, painting, and helping carry heavy materials. Called Concert, the robot is a platform that can perform a variety of tasks depending on the tool that is fitted with and the instructions it is given.
The Concert platform offers different modes of operation. It can be used as a collaborative platform executing a physical demanding and repetitive construction tasks together with the human operators, but at the same time offers autonomous functionalities in which the platform can work alone inside the construction site with a minimal human supervision.
Concert structure and robotic arm can be reconfigured depending on its next task, meaning it can be quickly repurposed for a wide range of scenarios in workspaces. The actual manipulation system of the robot can be reconfigured to adjust its workspace settings, its payload capacity, and also the level of the forces that the system can apply to the environment during the execution of the construction task. The goal is a transition from the current general-purpose lower-power robots to a new generation of robots that can safely collaborate with workers while safely applying human-scale forces on tasks that can change quickly in unstructured, hazardous environments. In the bustling city of Karbala in Iraq, a tile-making workshop established in 1967 takes pride in creating traditional decorative calligraphy and intricate patterns on ceramic tiles. The decorative tiles made of clay have been part of Karbala's artistic heritage for hundreds of years, where they can be found in mosques and holy shrines. Owner of the workshop, Abbas Ahmed, said all the stages of making the tiles are handmade. The tiles are shaped, dyed, and then placed in an oven and heated to 900 degrees Celsius, increasing their durability and lifespan. However, the rise of mass-produced imported tiles has affected the precision of the artwork and the Arabic writings on the products. Among the shrines decorated with the ceramic tiles is the historical site of Imam Abbas Shrine. Quranic verses were found on ceramic tiles in some areas inside the shrine, then over years it spread to other buildings in the vicinity of the facility. As new buildings rise around the shrine, the walls and ceilings continue to be decorated with a unique artwork, preserving the tradition and cultural heritage.
That wraps up World Today this time around. In our top story, Malaysia France agree to boost bilateral ties. I'm Olivia Nicholas, Malaysia Madani. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.